Welcome back to Echo Ridge and another episode here in our Max Colonization series, where today, I know I've said this a couple times, we're going to get to a temporary mid-game sort of power situation. In the last episode, we set up our polymer press and I put automation on it because, well, I figured 5 tons of resin would be a lot to go through. Well, the polymer press has already drank it all, and we're up to 3.5 tons of plastic. But because the resin comes in so slowly, only when the Laura plant produces the amber, we turn the amber into resin, we really don't have to worry about this thing overheating at all. It's going to sort of drip feed us plastic over time. Now, it did get a little warmer in here, but I'm thinking it's going to cool off quite a bit with the wheeze warts in between the resin drops. I mean, we're taking 100 kilos worth of amber, turning it into 50 kilos worth of resin. And the polymer press can eat through 500 kilos in a cycle. So I'm thinking this is going to maintain itself decently well. We'll see. I've set up a liquid lock area. You can see I've also sealed in the left side. These tiles over here are more for when the bees eventually harvest all the uranium on this top area. I don't want all this hydrogen gas to escape. Now, there's going to be a little bit of carbon dioxide in here. Well, maybe not. I can probably deconstruct this door, and once we get the lock in, I can fill in all the spaces. Now, this is not going to be a full lock. In fact, I can get rid of that tile. I'm just going to drop enough here for that one tile soft lock that you've seen me use before. It's not the greatest, but it's Nafta and it shouldn't go anywhere. And that way I'm not burning through probably 1.5 tons worth of Nafta to fill this entire lock. The question is, where are we going to get the Nafta? The plastic melts into Nafta at 159.9 degrees. There are 2 likely culprits of where we can get that amount of heat. One being down here in the bee biome, because this area is awfully hot. But if I do that, it's going to sort of make a mess everywhere. But we have plenty of heat up here, which I know you're saying, Echo, please don't. No, please don't. But I think it's going to be okay. There is some abyssalite here that is blocking all of this heat from entering through here. Yeah, there is some heat that is slowly warming this area up, but there's a bunch of abyssalite here too. So what I need to do is get up here and make a couple of locks, 2 to be precise, because I'm going to want to make sure none of the heat transfers from one side to the other, and that will take a lot of Nafta too. But before we can even get to it, I have to melt the plastic. And I'm thinking this area right here is beautiful, because if I put a plastic temperature shift plate right here, it's going to drain out of the diamond, quickly melt, and then fall down to here. Luckily for us, the Nafta does not flash until it hits 538 degrees. And over here, it's still sitting at around 200 to 300. This volcano is in a vacuum, so it's not providing any more heat. This one is the one we really have to worry about, because it keeps erupting into steam. But if you remember, the center of this asteroid used to be ice cold, and now, well, it's not. This area is going to slowly keep heating and heating and heating until it reaches 2500 degrees. So one of the first things we'll do when we get real suits is get in there and tame this. This one I'm not too worried about. There's a bunch of water here, so it's going to take a while for this one to start heating up, but it will eventually as well. We also have a hydrogen vent here, producing hydrogen at 500 C, but it has already sort of stifled itself. Now the problem is sort of getting up here. I like the fact that we're going to get up here on the very corner. Unfortunately, it is going to break this lock, so a bunch of this gas is going to enter through here. Not that it's a big deal because, well, there's still a bunch of gas in here because our vent is overpressured. Not a huge deal. In fact, this area here is open to the vacuum of space. So when I dig through, I could make a trash chute, and we'll have it just follow the way where the dupes are going. And now, eventually, all of that gas will be ejected to the vacuum of space. This is not the priority, though. I need to put those liquid locks in. Of course, I need to get over here to make the Nafta in order to do that, so I suppose I can do that right now. Now, over at our kiln, I did prepare some ceramic, taking some of the clay, which is one of the reasons why I always put a bunch of deodorizers down. And we're also mixing it with the peat, just as we did with the refined carbon, to give us some ceramic. We now have 5 tons. Well, I'm going to need the ceramic in order to put a pitcher pump here. A ceramic pitcher pump has an overheat temperature of 200 degrees. Now, it shouldn't heat up too much because there's so little carbon dioxide here, and this is slowly starting to vacuum itself out. At least that's the goal. Now, I know what you're thinking. The dupes are probably going to get scalded up here. And you would be correct. There's enough of an atmosphere over here where the dupes are going to feel it. So just to be safe, we'll put in a couple more triage cots. We had gotten rid of them before, but, you know, desperate times, desperate measures. Do I have a doctor yet? Yes, I am Pud. You are now an advanced medical care physician. Jesse is also available, and it looks like it only brings their morale requirement up to 15, but you can wear the Masterworks art hat. Kiku, I have not done any skills yet either. I guess Kiku is going to be a mechatronics engineer. Welcome to the club. Anybody else sitting with low morale requirements? Andy? I think Andy's good for now, with carry and grilling. Piercer can probably use some additional farming and critter ranching, and maybe another improved carry. 270 is the next lowest at 7 again. They have an interest in building, and I suppose the first tier is always free because it costs 1 morale, but they get 1 morale for having an interest in it. And then I'll throw them into some improved carry too. Speaking of Dr. Decorators, look at this Bonnie. Not a bad Dr. Decorator. Only negative is a small bladder, but we already have enough dupes doing that. Marie is a dupe that doesn't really know what they want to do, so we'll pass on them. Catalina is a slow learner, so we'll take the free half a ton of plastic. Also wanted to mention on the power front, this hydrogen generator up here that is connected to a smart battery, which feeds our primary base, is starting to backlog with some hydrogen. And that's in addition to this one here. So we are kind of on hydrogen power. No one's running on these wheels. But I would like to get this one switched over to hydrogen and our metal refinery set up. Now for now, we'll just end up running the hydrogen lines everywhere. The hydrogen generators are not too bad, producing only 4,000 DTUs worth of heat. So without further ado, it's time to break into here. As soon as I do, I will seal it off right here. And I'll also start digging this area out. And then we'll have to get on over here. Oh, this regolith is hot. Please don't bring that into the base. We have plenty of sand. Speaking of which, we also have plenty of salt. And right now, the dupes don't have any table salt. So as a matter of fact, I'm going to make another rock crusher and connect some smart storage to it. And we'll use the smart storage with some automation connected to a NOT gate. And so it will control when this rock crusher can turn on. We got some salt being loaded up, and this little storage bin is going to hold table salt. Now, 20,000 of table salt is entirely too many, so we're just going to say 1 kilo. In other words, this rock crusher is going to turn on and stay on until we have 1 kilo worth of table salt inside this smart-looking smart storage. Once it's filled, this rock crusher will turn off. But remember, the dupes are going to come grab this table salt from the smart-looking storage bin and load up all the mess tables. And if you're wondering why we only set the storage bin to 1 kilo, it's because table salt is only 5 grams. If I could lower the maximum amount below 1 kilo, I would. So now when the duplicants eat, they will salt their food, and we get yet another +1 to morale. Combine that with our wonderful nature reserve, our barracks, our washroom, and I suppose occasionally the food, even though we're not eating the best. The veggie poppers give a +4 to morale. Most of our duplicants are sitting in the mid-20s to almost 40 in the case of Piercer. Also in the last episode, I had installed these 2 buffer tanks to try to lower the level here, enough to where the liquid vent could get rid of some of the expired coolant used by the metal refinery. I don't know what I was thinking, but obviously 10 tons was not enough to do it. I have connected this tank to the oxygen supply, so once this does lower a little bit, I will reconnect this last buffer tank to get rid of what little polluted water is stuck in it. But sadly, the cool slush geyser is now dormant, so it doesn't really matter anyways. Well, here's the moment of truth, and we're already starting to get some scalding messages. Because we've brought so much more atmosphere up here, it is transferring pretty well to this abyssalite, but we don't have to do too much work up here. I just need a little bit of Nafta. I'll put 3 temperature shift plates there. You've got this, Josh. And then we'll make some liquid locks and we'll be out of the way. A Dartle made the mistake of coming up here and then walking on this very hot rock. Wouldn't it be cool if you could cook meat just by placing it on a hot rock? Now you might wonder why I don't make this a hospital. The reason I don't is because the hospital doesn't make it more efficient to heal duplicates. it only allows for the quarantining of sick dupes. This is another change I'd love to see. Maybe a 30% healing bonus for being inside of a hospital instead of just a broom closet with a triage cot. No, Ettenwald, don't stand down here. Oh no, this isn't gonna end well, is it? Oh, Ettenwald, don't worry, buddy. There's a nice triage cot inside of a broom closet for you. Our first temperature shift plate was installed and dropped off, and now we have some beautiful Nafta. Another problem with this solution is the fact that the Nafta is, well, super hot. So when we do drop it all the way down here into the bee biome, it'll eventually cool off, but it's going to take it a little while. Now, if you've never seen the way this works, is the temperature shift plate made out of plastic interacts with all the temperature of these tiles around it, just like a normal temperature shift plate. Except once it hits the melting point of the material of the temperature shift plate, it melts. And now it looks like we have about 2,400 kilos worth of Nafta. I've got the brine lock in here. Now I just need to put a little bit of Nafta here. I'll probably fill the brine lock, but only use the soft lock. So in fact, let me put the bottle emptier here, because that Nafta is just way too valuable. Oh, come on, Callie, it's not that bad. And then what I'll have to do is actually vacuum out the interior here, so that way heat does not transfer from this side over to this side. This also has the benefit of not wasting any of our oxygen to the vacuum space, but also keeping the atmosphere here low, which will further prevent heat transfer. I managed to catch them dropping off the Nafta a little too late. This is the important tile. This one's just sort of wasted Nafta. In fact, I might get in there and mop this up. I've also got the power line coming for the gas pump to be able to vacuum out this area, and all I have to do, plug it in right there, and all of that's going to be vented over here. Nafta is slowly climbing up in temps. I'm going to have to keep an eye on that, even though I know the comments would be very, very excited if all that Nafta turned into sour gas. In fact, why don't I move all that Nafta now to a nice cold area? That way it can start chilling out. Josh Manchester's the last duplicate needed to be healed, so we might get 1 or 2 more scalding messages as we move all this Nafta around, but they don't have to sit there for as long as it takes to build an 800 kilo temperature shift plate. They just pump it and go. Our temporary Nafta storage facility is in. Dartles, you might want to move. I'm going to say liquid Nafta, enable auto bottle, and then I'm going to disable this pitcher pump so they don't start grabbing the Nafta from here. So now all I have to do is move all this hot stuff down there. It'll cool down. And anytime we need more Nafta, well, I'll just build another temperature shift plate right here. This area did not take long at all to vacuum out, but I am going to keep this pump in here because the dupes are only in oxygen masks. Yeah, they get their oxygen from the mask itself, but they still exhale carbon dioxide. So on occasion, we will need to pump more carbon dioxide out of this little area, so that way there is no heat transfer from one side to the other. I'm still waiting for more brine to be dropped off up here. 1 or 2 more buckets should do it. And you might wonder, well, why am I filling this liquid lock, but not this one? And that has to do with the viscosity of the liquid itself. It is much more likely for something to happen to this brine than something would happen to this Nafta. One example is you can see that there's 34 kilos worth of Nafta in this tile, whereas the brine sitting here is only 34 grams. So if a dupe grabs some of this hot rock, or maybe the hot iron, and drops it in that tile, the brine would turn to steam and we would lose our lock, where it would take a lot more to end up evaporating this Nafta. Here's an example right here. Somebody came and grabbed the Nafta and decided right now was when they needed to exhale. It's not a lot, but you know what we say on this channel. We take every precaution to make sure the duplicates stay as safe as possible. I am going to tempt fate a little bit by building these ladders up here so I can get rid of this broken ladder. And that way the built-in broken notification will go away. It's not super important, but it'll help. Another positive aspect of doing that is the fact that it'll open up the area here and allow gases to escape to the vacuum space a little bit easier. At last, we have our first chunk of steel. It's hiding behind the iron right there. So I'll make sure we end up tracking it. Oh no, now we have another building broken. It's this wire here. Oh, I suppose every once in a while it does go over 1,000. We're gonna fix that soon. It doesn't help that we're still trying to fill this box up with table salt. There are 710 grams in here. I don't know what's going on with IM-Pud, but this is not a good situation. Apparently, they're in such pain that they're screaming and I don't know what else is going on. Yeah, I've never seen this before. And they're still doing it even though their injuries have gone from moderate to light. I guess it could be because they're a loud sleeper, and while they don't look like it, they're actually snoring? Buddy, you're wide awake. Stop snoring. The first of our Nafta is being dropped off down here, and while it is heating up the surrounding area pretty good, we have 3 wheezeworts naturally planted, so eventually it will chill out. We still have a whole bunch of it up here, but because it's so far away, the duplicants would rather do the stuff that's close to them first. And with everybody still running on wheels, especially for steel production, they do stay pretty busy down here. It's another reason why I'm looking forward to getting the hydrogen generators online. In fact, we're up to over 1.5 tons of steel, so I'm actually gonna pause steel production until we get the hydrogen online, and then start concentrating down here. I'm gonna ask for a little bit of Nafta. Oh, do let me move some of this ice out of here. No, maybe not. This is 2.5 tons of ice, and this chunk is 2 tons. I think the Nafta will be okay. I don't think it's going to end up melting, especially considering our Nafta in the cold storage is already down to 87 degrees. Glenn is about to drop off the Nafta. I only want to use a little bit, and this is perfect. It's just when it starts overflowing into this tile, so I can uncheck it there. I'll mop this one up because it's not important. And then we can finally get back into here. Oh, there's still some carbon dioxide in there. So let me put a tile in there to delete it. Oh no! My Nafta disappeared! I have no idea. Apparently it fell all the way down into this tile. Let me get rid of this carbon dioxide and then pour it again. Maybe something pushed it out of the way? And just in case, I'm going to sweep everything in these tiles. That way, even if that water does end up melting, we won't deal with any of those issues. In fact, I'm going to sweep all this. Second burst, same as the first, except this time there's no carbon dioxide in the way. Maybe that was it. Before I dig the rest of that out, I do need to put a pneumatic door in, and that way the bees do not escape up here. And now we have access to the sweet, sweet hydrogen. Now, as I was telling you earlier, there's enough room here to plant yet another Beeta hive. But I'm going to have to be a little bit careful out of this because I'm going to have to move a Beeta onto here, deconstruct this Beeta hive, all while making sure there's still baby Beetas around. What is this? Oh, look at that. There is a third one here. So when I move this Beeta over here, we'll now have 3 total Saturn critter traps. This is going to be beautiful. Okay, this bee tiny is 1 cycle old. This bee tiny is 0. So I think we are ready to attack this one. And as soon as it's down, I'll build the doors right here. I'll move this bee tiny over here. Oh, this might need another space because it looks like the Saturn critter trap does occupy these 3 tiles. I should have realized that the Saturn critter trap was going to eat one of my bee tinies, but that's okay. We're good now. At the end of the cycle, this bee tiny should make a new one. And worst comes to worst, we have plenty of bee tinies up here we can move around. Now I want to dig out these tiles to let this Saturn critter trap come out, but I do not want to uproot this one. So after you enter the dig command, you cancel the uproot on the flower you do not want to dig up. Oh, there's 90 kilos worth of hydrogen gas in here. I wonder if this one's going to work, considering this abyssalite's in the way. We're going to check that for science, and there we go, 1 Beeta hive in. Let me go get another bee tiny. If you've never played with the Beeta hives, the reason why you have to put in the pneumatic doors is because in one area, there can only be 1 Beeta hive. When there is no Beeta hive, and the bee tiny's here, it'll sort of metamorphosize itself and create a new hive. Afterwards, I'll be able to open these pneumatic doors, and the reason why I need one on this shelf was because the bee tinies, as we said earlier, can't go up and down. So this critter trap will consume the bee tinies coming out of this hive, and then these 2 critter traps will consume the bee tinies coming out of this Beeta hive. At least that's the plan. Over here, it's going to be a little bit more difficult, just because there's a much larger area to sort of liquid lock in. It's also going to require digging out a little bit of this area here. After not much fanfare, we have our liquid Nafta in, so this will be sealed off. So now I just got to get another bee tiny relocated over here, and make sure we put a door. I think this will be a good spot for the door. The bee tiny I put over here decided to plant itself right next to the Saturn critter trap. I hope that's not a big deal. Now, when you have your critter traps, they're automatically going to start off with disabled harvest, just like all your other plants. You need to make sure that you enable harvest. That way the dupes come get the plant meat out of it, which will reset them and so they can consume more bee tinies. And unlike the other area, this area has a bunch of chlorine in it. So I am going to vacuum this out, doing this beforehand so I don't have to worry about using a filter. I am going to need to bring this poor power wire all the way down. Eventually it'll be on its own network, but now is not that day. And I'll bring one over here because we're going to have another gas pump right there. I'm not loving the dupe labor situation on the colony right now, so I have started looking for more dupes. Unfortunately, I have not had much luck. This Stinky is flatulent, go figure, and this Higbee is unconstructive, so we're going to end up taking the fried mushrooms. And just as the pump started, the Saturn critter trap already started expelling some hydrogen, but there's one tile in here I need to get rid of, so we're going to have a bit of a hydrogen mess for a little while. And there it goes. Oh, I just realized when the duplicants come down here to take care of the Saturn critter traps, they're going to end up exhaling. I'm going to need to use a gas filter anyways. Now, we already have a beautiful line here that is primed and ready for hydrogen use. Unfortunately, we have a bit of spaghetti going. Suppose I can make this a little bit better. All right, it's ugly, but it's functional. So is it really ugly? I don't know. Anybody in the mood for pasta? So this is going to be our primary hydrogen line. And to start off with, we're only going to use one buffer tank to store the hydrogen. And the reason why is because I'm going to have hydrogen generators everywhere. And in some places, I may not have enough room to put an entire gas reservoir. So we'll just store all the hydrogen in here. And to make sure we're only storing hydrogen, I will put the gas filter in right here. It's going to come out, go into the filter. If it's hydrogen, it can go up. If it's not, it's going to be vented back. And then all we have to do is plug in this gas pump and then this gas pump. Easy peasy. Okay, it just got a lot less easy. I guess I'm going to go down there like this, being careful not to upset the spore kids. Into the tank and whammo blammo. Now, just a reminder, this is temporary. Eventually, we're going to have a big, beautiful sauna, and we're going to stick all sorts of hydrogen things in it. Speaking of saunas, there was a little bit of talk in the comments asking why I do a sauna every single playthrough. Some suggesting, hey, don't do a sauna this time. I just can't bring myself to not doing it, because anything that generates heat, well, we can take that heat and turn it into power using a steam turbine. So instead of having a bunch of disjointed systems like the metal refinery over here, random power generations all around our colony, even the rock crushers generate enough heat to warrant being in there, not to mention plastic production. It just makes entirely too much sense to do a sauna. The difference in this sauna, which will make it a little exciting, is we're either going to put this volcano in it, or I'm going to stick all of these volcanoes in it. I'm not as excited about putting it up here, because that's going to really limit how much space we have for our rocketry program. And our rocketry program on the Max Colonization series has to be robust. So most likely it is going to go down here and surround this volcano. So it's going to be interesting how we deal with that because, well, this is a hot boy. But I still think we're a couple episodes away from it, but this is going to be nice getting power online. Our Beeta hive is installed over here and the Saturn critter trap is getting its nom-noms, as is this one over here. Hydrogen gas is slowly filling up this golden gas reservoir. Now I just need to set this filter. I'm going to say hydrogen. It also needs to be powered. Why aren't you powered? Oh, there's one piece right there that has not been installed. In fact, now that I have enough hydrogen here, I am going to switch this network over to using its own hydrogen generator and smart battery. I think we can put it right here. Connect this wire, and then I can disconnect this one. And all I have to do is plug the hydrogen that is going to be coming out of here into here. Oh, I can't disconnect that wire yet though, because I need it to filter out the hydrogen. While we're doing that, I'll also plug in the automation. Good news, the fact that the abyssalite was in the way of the critter trap did not stop it from eating the bee tinies. And we have hydrogen flowing. And since the hydrogen is in that line, I can now separate these grids, which I know this grid is going to be very pleased about that fact. Now there is one contingency that I am going to have to make, and that is with this system here. It cannot overflow. We're going to test it out for a little while. There is a 50-50 split, so this should allow hydrogen to drain. It looks like I'm also going to need a directional bridge. There we go. Oh, and now I can start removing all these systems here. Goodbye, rustic manual generators. And I'll also get rid of this one as well. I don't love the idea of the hydrogen generator being in the middle of our base. But once again, they don't produce a lot of heat. And we have some cooling. Need to make sure we set our smart batteries. I'll do 90-60 all the way around. The metal refinery is going to take 2 hydrogen generators. For the simple fact, it requires 1200 watts and each manual generator only produces 800. Unless, yeah, let me start putting in some power control stations. That could be handy. Now, since there'll only be 1 hydrogen generator in here, in order to make it a power plant, I am going to need the power control station. This one I'm not as worried about because the entire line only requires 790 watts. This one up here is the same sort of situation. We average using about 500 watts, which is plenty to keep up. But then again, we'd actually be saving hydrogen because a hydrogen generator with an NG's tune-up produces 1200 watts. So I suppose we might as well. I will seal this place in. Let's put that there. We'll put a door here. Is there anything else that's on a manual generator? Oh, and if I'm going to do all of them, I might as well do the one down here as well. I am going to change these to use airflow tiles. That way that carbon dioxide still flows to this Beeta hive that was very purposely still left out here, so it'll keep consuming all that carbon dioxide. And then on the power control station, I'm going to select iron, which might seem counterintuitive, but remember, we have an iron volcano, and we're going to be ranching the Jabos eventually, and have an infinite supply of both the refined iron and the iron ore. Let's copy those settings, paste them there, and here. Now each microchip only requires 5 kilos, so it's really not a bad trade-off. I am sitting at over 3 tons of iron, but suppose we might as well queue up a little bit more, let's say 25. And then all I have to do over here is give it a source of hydrogen. Oh, this is going to be wonky again. I suppose I can grab it from here. There we go. Both Kiku and Ettenwald have electrical engineering. They are our mechatronics engineers. But as a reminder, using the power control station does require this tier 2 skill in operating. No, my beautiful liquid lock dropped again. Oh, that is inconvenient. How did that happen? Oh, well, this is an issue. I guess I'm going to have to corner build in there and remove that tile because they can't get up over there. Why did that happen? My only guess is a duplicate came over here, exhaled, and pushed the Nafta over. This one's holding just fine. I don't think it was the carbon dioxide, because if a dupe is standing here and exhales, I'm pretty sure they exhale out of their top tile, not the bottom one. Oh my goodness, it did it again! What is wrong with this tile? I'm moving this gas pump over. I don't think it has anything to do with it, but I'm going to follow up by putting a manual airlock in there. I did it over here, so that way the Nafta doesn't have anywhere to go. This one is holding strong, as is this one over here. Maybe this tile's just a little bit more slippery, or maybe it had something to do with the door. I don't know, but I put the Nafta back and this little area is complete, or at least that's what we're going to call it. This one's still chock full with 14.4 kilos worth of hydrogen pressure. More to follow, and our gas reservoir already has 1,000 kilos of hydrogen. Our hydrogen spine is chocked full. Our metal refinery area is on hydrogen. As you can see, there's the 1200 watts being produced by the hydrogen generator, as is our materials science area and our primary base. Some other updates is our plastic area is still down at 30 degrees. It's actually lost quite a bit of temp since we drank all of that resin. So that's going to do it for this episode. I know I was hoping to get to Rex's, but I think that's going to be an entire episode unto itself. Not to mention, we really did get a lot of stuff caught up. I can now firmly say we're definitely in the mid-game. I'm looking forward to reading your comments below. So until next time, much love, happy gaming, and I'll talk to you soon.